Let us discuss about the carbapenems, imipenem, meropenem. Now, carbapenems, they are the beta-lactam antibiotics, and relatively, they are also a later additions. That is the first carbapenem, imipenem. It was introduced in 1985, and following imipenem, we have the other carbapenems, which were introduced later, like the meropenem, ertapenem, doripenem, and ferropenem. They have a broader spectrum of activity as compared to the cephalosporins, and they also have a significant post-antibiotic effect, which is specifically seen in drugs like the aminoglycosides and fluoroquinolones. And this post-antibiotic effect is effect which is known in terms of that it is the residual bactericidal activity which persists even after the serum concentration of the drug has fallen below the MIC levels, that is the minimum inhibitory concentration levels. And this is classically seen in drugs like aminoglycosides and fluoroquinolones. So this is also seen with the carbapenems. And having a broader spectrum of activity, they are valuable reserve antimicrobial drugs or the drugs of the last resort. They are classified into two groups on the basis of their inactivation by the renal dipeptidase. So we have imipenem, which is destroyed by the renal dipeptidase, whereas the other drugs, meropenem, ertapenem, doripenem, and ferropenem, they are not destroyed by the renal dipeptidase. So the destruction by the renal dipeptidase, this is a limiting feature of the imipenem because of undergoing rapid hydrolysis by the renal dipeptidase enzyme. This happens to be a limitation of the imipenem, whereas the other drugs, meropenem, ertapenem, ferropenem, and doripenem, they are not hydrolyzed by the renal dipeptidase enzyme. You see the chemical structure, the penicillin and the cephalosporin. The penicillins are susceptible to bacterial metabolism as well as inactivation by the amidase and the beta-lactamases. This we can see in the diagram, as well as we can see the structure of the cephalosporin. And if we see the carbapenems, the structure of carbapenems, the carbapenems, they have a different stereochemical configuration in the beta-lactam ring. And this particular peculiar structure along with in the beta-lactam ring gives the advantage of resistance to the beta-lactamases. This makes it resistant to the beta-lactamases. The carbapenems, they contain the beta-lactam ring, as you can see here, which is fused with the 5-membered penem ring. And the first compound which came up was thinamycin. And this thinamycin, it was obtained from a bacteria, but it was found to be chemically unstable. So it was introduced in 1976, but it was not used. Then we have the imipenem structure, as you can see in the diagram. And this imipenem was introduced in 1985. This is a derivative of thinamycin. It is an N-formimidazole derivative of the thinamycin. Now, if we see the structure of the other carbapenems, like the meropenem, ertapenem, now there is in the structure of ertapenem, there is an addition of the 1-beta methyl substituent on the carbapenem ring. We can see the 1-beta methyl substituent, and this substitution, it confers the stability to hydrolysis by the dipeptidase. So we know that meropenem, ertapenem, they are not hydrolyzed by the dipeptidase. This is basically because of the structural modification in terms of addition of the 1-beta methyl substituent on the carbapenem ring. So we have certain semi-synthetic carbapenems like the ertapenem. Meropenem also has a similar structure, and it is a dimethyl carbamoyl derivative of the thinamycin. The mechanism of action of the carbapenems, these are cell wall synthesis inhibitor, and carbapenems, just like the beta-lactam antibiotics, they will bind to multiple penicillin binding protein, and these enzymes, they are involved in the formation of the peptidoglycan. So they will inhibit the cross-linking of the peptidoglycan, and because they will inhibit the cross-linking of the peptidoglycan, their cell wall deficient forms are formed, they will undergo lysis, and this will exert the bactericidal effect. Imipenem is the first member among the carbapenem, and it is extremely potent, and it has a broad spectrum activity. The antibacterial spectrum is very effective against gram-positive cocci, gram-negative aerobes like the Enterobacteriaceae, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and it is also effective against anaerobes like the Bacteria fragilis and the Clostridium difficilis. Now, it is resistant to most of the beta-lactamases, so it inhibits the penicillinase producing Staphylococcus aureus, but not MRSA. And it has adverse effects of causing the seizures. Now, it has a propensity to induce the seizures in when it is given in high doses, or in those patients who are predisposed. Like, it should be avoided in the meningitis because it can precipitate the epileptic fits. So the tendency to cause the seizures is there. Then other adverse effects, side effects are the diarrhea, vomiting, and the skin rashes and other hypersensitivity reactions. It is effective in a wide range of serious infections like the hospital-acquired respiratory infections, urinary, pelvic infections, skin and soft tissue infections, including those infections which are occurring in the neutropenic patients, cancer patients, and the AIDS patients. Now, the classical combination of imipenem is with cilastatin, and as we know that the imipenem, it undergoes the hydrolysis by the dipeptidase enzyme in the renal tubular cells. And because it undergoes rapid hydrolysis, to tackle this problem, we are combining imipenem with cilastatin. Now, cilastatin is a reversible inhibitor of the dipeptidase enzyme, and it is given along with imipenem. With imipenem, it has the same pharmacokinetics. They have both the drugs, they have a T-half of 1 hour, and once the cilastatin is given, it prevents the hydrolysis of the imipenem. It prevents its inactivation, as well as it also has the advantage of preventing the toxicity of the imipenem, because in imipenem not only undergoes inactivation, but it also undergoes this toxicity because it causes release of a nephrotoxic metabolite. So both these things are prevented. Inactivation as well as toxicity is prevented by giving the cilastatin. And cilastatin has no antimicrobial activity of its own. Now coming to meropenem, this is a dimethyl. We know about the methyl substitution. So in the basic structure of the carbapenem. So it's a dimethyl carbamoyl derivative of thinamycin. And it is not hydrolyzed by the renal dipeptidase enzyme, and therefore there is no need of combining meropenem with cilastatin. And the antibacterial spectrum of meropenem is just like the imipenem, and it is more active against the gram-negative organisms, and it is more active against the Pseudomonas aeruginosa. It is a reserved drug for serious nosocomial infections like the septicemia or the febrile neutropenia, or certain intra-abdominal infections or pelvic infections occurring due to some cephalosporin-resistant bacteria. It is also used in the diabetic foot and in the Pseudomonas aeruginosa infection. It is effective against also the Pseudomonas aeruginosa infection, which is resistant to the imipenem. The adverse effects of meropenem is similar to imipenem, but it is less likely to cause the seizure. So that is also another advantage, and meropenem is preferred over the imipenem cilastatin because of this thing that it has a less tendency to cause the seizures. Ertapenem is having a narrow spectrum. Now, ertapenem is having narrow spectrum, means it does not have that kind of a broad spectrum action like imipenem and meropenem. The action is less, so it has less broad spectrum action. So we can know in terms of that it has a narrow spectrum. It is highly active against E. coli, Klebsiella. Also, it is effective against H. influenzae and proteas as well as certain anaerobes. But it is not having any action against the Pseudomonas. And also, it has no action against the MRSA and the penicillin resistant Streptococcus pneumoniae. So, somewhat it has a narrow spectrum of action, but it is useful against resistant skin and skin structure infections, diabetic foot infections, community acquired pneumonia due to the H. influenzae, or organisms like the Moraxella catarrhalis, then complicated urinary tract infections, abdominal infections, pelvic infections, gynecological infections, also as a prophylaxis after the colorectal surgery. It has a longer T-half, about 4 hours, and this is an important feature about the ertapenem because due to this feature of having a longer T-half, it permits the single daily IV infusion. And it has a less propensity to precipitate the seizures. It is also resistant to the beta-lactamases. Then coming to doripenem, this is more active against some resistant Pseudomonas. This is the most important property of doripenem. It is very, very effective against certain resistant Pseudomonas. And it has a property, it is non-susceptible to the renal dipeptidase. So there is no requirement of combining it with cilastatin, just like the meropenem, ertapenem. And it has a clinical use which is similar to the meropenem. And the adverse effects, it causes nausea, diarrhea, superinfections, phlebitis of the injected vein. And as far as seizures are concerned, this is also less precipitated. Then coming to ferropenem, this is the only orally active carbapenem. Other drugs are given by the parenteral injections, but ferropenem is the only carbapenem which is given orally, and it is useful as an antibacterial spectrum, effective against gram-positive, gram-negative, and anaerobes. Also, the Streptococcus pneumoniae, H. influenzae, and Moraxella catarrhalis. These are very highly they are susceptible. So it is very, very useful in certain respiratory condition, and these organisms are also causing the pneumonia. So it's very useful in the respiratory infections, in ENT infections, in genitourinary infections. And it causes some adverse effects like the abdominal pain, nausea, as well as rashes. And coming to the bacterial resistance, the carbapenems, they are highly resistant to most of the beta-lactamases, including the extended spectrum beta-lactamases producing organisms like the Enterobacteriaceae. So these carbapenems, they are very much preferred, and they are the drug of choice for treating infections which are occurring due to the extended spectrum beta-lactamases producing organisms like Enterobacteriaceae. And the carbapenems, they are resistant to hydrolysis by the extended spectrum beta-lactamases. So they're very, very useful drugs, and they have a broad spectrum of activity, as well as they are very, very resistant, highly resistant to the most of the beta-lactamases. But since our fight with the microorganisms, it's a constant fight going on. Recent reports have given us the signals that there are development of carbapenemesis as well. And the most problematic one is the class A beta-lactamase, which is the KPC, that is the Klebsiella pneumoniae carbapenemesis, which are elaborated by Enterobacteriaceae, and they have been found to destroy some of the carbapenems. So this is really a problematic issue. And the second is the metallo-beta-lactamases. Now this metallo-beta-lactamases, most of the beta-lactamases, they require the serine residue for causing the hydrolysis of the beta-lactam antibiotic. But these metallo-beta-lactamases, they require zinc. Because they require zinc, this is a metal ion. So they require zinc for the hydrolysis of the beta-lactam ring. So this type of beta-lactamases, they are called the metallo-beta-lactamases. And these metallo-beta-lactamases, they are found to destroy all beta-lactams, as well as they also they can destroy the carbapenems, and only aztreonone, that is monobactams, they are effective against the metallo-beta-lactamases. Popular story we remember regarding the metallo-beta-lactamases is that of the New Delhi metallo-beta-lactamase 1 enzyme, which was named after because a particular foreign national, a Swedish person, he fell ill in Delhi, and so he was found to be ill with some antibiotic resistant, some bacterial infection, which he had acquired while he was traveling in India. So this infection was identified as the carbapenem resistant Klebsiella pneumoniae. So such a problem arising due to development of resistance even with the occurrence of the carbapenemases. So therefore, we can conclude that the carbapenems, they have the widest spectrum of activity, and in comparison to most of the other beta-lactam antibiotics. And if we see the imipenem cilastatin, they are given by the IV injections, and they have a potent broad spectrum action, but they have a tendency to cause the seizures. Whereas meropenem, doripenem, they are also given by the parenteral injections, and they have a similar activity to imipenem, but have the lower incidence of causing the seizures. Ertapenem, in that respect, it is having a little narrower spectrum as compared to the other carbapenems. It is also given by the parenteral injection, but it has a longer half-life. And ferropenem, it is the only carbapenem which is orally active. And all the carbapenems, they are eliminated by the kidney. So dose reduction is also needed during the renal failure.